Hey guys, it's me, Jack24 here. Today I'm going to be reacting to, the Muldoon Logs Episode 10, Raptor Attack by Aliota. Which, this should be amazing, and also, before I begin, with going over the copyright stuff, I will say that, unfortunately, my microphone software thing needed an update while I was recording one of my videos, and apparently no one told me that this video also had the same issue of the microphone not being on. So yeah, this kind of helped me dodge a bullet, but at the same time also meant that I lost about 35 minutes of footage. So to sum this up, yeah, it's going to be a bit annoying to deal with. Oh yeah, the other reason I just wanted to bring this up because someone in the comments mentioned this before, and it was that that the size that I do at the front, do at like the beginning of each of my videos, those aren't actually like truly intentional size. Like, I mean, you guys don't hear the first half of of what I do before the recording goes on, and that's taking in a deep breath and then letting that deep breath out once I get something going on, because I always do that as kind of a way to help de-stress myself. Although I do appreciate that some of you guys are worried for my health, which I appreciate. I mean, yeah, I do agree. My mental health's not exactly the best, but to be honest, I'm doing probably a lot better than I was like about 5 years ago, or like even 6 years ago at this point. So it's much better. Anyway, sorry to get sidetracked. Alright, so Jurassic Park's copyright belongs to Universal City Studios LLC and to Emblem Entertainment Inc., and all of the copyright belongs to Aliota, who I will have a link of the original video in the description, and I'll have a link to his channel in the description, and I would heavily, and I do mean heavily, recommend everyone, or I would, if this is the first time for you watching any particular Muldoon Logs episode through your reaction, I will just say go to the original video first, then come back. Because the more you support original content by going over to the original video, subscribing, liking, and commenting on the original video, it means it does better on the algorithm, which means the creator is enticed to make more. And also, this is a very fun series where I get to react to, and plus also in the meantime, watch with my dad in our free time, as it's kind of a bit of a bonding thing that we kind of do, since it's a bit nice. A bit nice to do. I mean, granted, we've been doing it for like Zoom calls and stuff, so it's not exactly the most perfect way of watching it, but it's better than nothing. Anyways, for those wondering, I kind of come from a bit of a paleontological background, as although I will admit that my original plans for college was to go into paleontology and to, become a professional in it, but kind of around my end of my sophomore year of high school, near the second end of my sophomore year of high school, I was pretty confident and pretty sad to kind of come to the realization that I knew for a little while. Although the realization was that the paleontology was more of a hobby for me rather than a career passion. So I moved into film, but I try for the most part keeping up to date with most papers, videos, and stuff. I mainly have to rely on videos to help with understanding some parts of the complexity of the papers a bit, since, as I mentioned before, I didn't go into paleontology for college, so I'm a bit lost in some of the areas, but I try to stay very up to date with my paleo history and what paleo life was like during that time. Anyways, without further ado, let's begin the video. Oh, right, I gotta press play. Just gonna go over this briefly because no matter how many times I mentioned this in my Muldoon logs previous videos where I've reacted to it, I'll just say this out front again. Velociraptor Anthrophus is not a real species of Velociraptor. Velociraptor mongoliensis, and there's another species of Velociraptor that has a different last name, scientific last name. I forget what it's called exactly, but effectively both of them lived in Mongolia around mid to late Cretaceous. I would say like around, mid to late Cretaceous. Seems about right. And I will also have to say that Velociraptor Anthrophus is actually the name given to Deinonychus Anthrophus by a paleo artist in like the mid to late 1980s, who this kind of inspired Michael Crichton to, make Deinonychus his main antagonist throughout like the first two Jurassic Park books. I mean, both the books, films, and for the first two films and books, like, it is very clearly based off of Deinonychus, although for the films they made them only slightly a bit bigger, only because Spielberg had some part of knowledge about Utahraptor. Granted, he didn't have like the full details, he just heard, like there was a big raptor in the upcoming papers and stuff, so he was aware of that, but, it's one of those things where you kind of can't figure out the exact sizes because Utahraptor is way, way bigger than any of the Jurassic Park raptors. And I do mean it's terrifying, but no. Deinonychus is the actual animal in Jurassic Park that you see that's called Velociraptor. Is the reason why Michael Crichton and why Spielberg didn't correct it was because at some point in the film process they were actually going to correct it, and Michael Crichton is a pretty good scientist, but he thought Velociraptor sounded a little bit better for audiences to be able to read and kind of also be a bit more terrified of compared to Deinonychus, but that's up to interpretation. Anyways, without any further ado, we're picking up where the last video left off, with the big one apparently being in a seizure. So whether or not if this is a fake seizure or not, we don't know, and we'll find out in 3, 2, 1.
She's convulsing, Muldoon. What do we do?
I'm on my way, Ray. I see them, Ray.
You must act quick, Muldoon.
I've only got the Moro 709 with me, Ray.
We don't have a choice, Muldoon. She'll deteriorate fast if we don't act now. The damage could be irreversible.
Got one, but Storm's made a dash.
I'll follow her, Muldoon.
Cover me, Ray.
I've got eyes on her.
Good.
Muldoon, please be careful.
I need your eyes glued to her, Ray. We don't have time. I'm going in.
I see her. You're clear, Muldoon.
All right, I'm counting on you this time, Ray.
I won't let you down.
Kill the gate siren for me, Ray.
Done.
All right.
And I've got a crate heading your way right now.
All right.
Doors are closed, so that way none of the raptors could go out.
I can hear it.
The pilot's given me T-minus 40 seconds.
Yep, I see it.
She's straight ahead of you, Muldoon, crouched in the reeds.
The sound of the chopper is probably frightening her. Update me, Ray.
Hasn't moved.
Still there, Ray?
Yep, the chopper is going to set down soon.
Actually, this begs the question, where does Muldoon keep the camera when he's, you know, holding a tranquilizer? Actually, wait, is the camera on his chest, or is it supposed to kind of be like for his POV, but I think for the most part, it's like maybe like on a little attachment thing on his vest or something, kind of like a police body camera, kind of. Where I know sometimes he's able to hand hold it, but you know, I doubt he's going to be hand holding a camera well in this situation. So I think it is attached to his chest. Also, I will have to say, Aliotta is pretty good with making a lot of suspense feel tense, kind of in this section.
Keep the bird in the air.
Where is the Raptor? Where?
Muldoon, are you okay?
Damn.
What the bloody hell was that all about, Ray? I thought you had eyes on her.
I did.
Your computers are going to get someone killed.
Robert, I don't know
Never
what.
mind. I have to...
I hate to say this, but Robert, you're way more calm about the situation than I would be. Because as a person that was possibly, well, predatory on by an animal by the name of a leopard in, I believe, 2017 going into 2018. For those that are unaware, I have a few videos where I show my trip to where I went to Africa, and in one of those videos, I don't think I ever mentioned it directly, but I have been kind of in a bit of a weird position where a leopard kind of pounced out, like when I was bending over to queen sighing out of my flip flop in a pool where all of a sudden a leopard just hops out of nowhere bush on like the other side of the pool, maybe like 6 feet away from me, like in direct standing. And fortunately for me, the leopard seems to have not anticipated me being there, because it seemed to have just jumped back just enough just to give me enough time to quickly run inside and slam the door shut, but with the amount of adrenaline pumping through me, I thought that I was able to finally overcome any challenge thrown my way, because A, I know how those big cats go and it's not pretty, and B, I did a stupid mistake and turned my back to the animal. then I knew it was stupid, even when I was doing it. But at the same time, when you're kind of with that fight or flight response, you're not exactly thinking all the way clearly with what's the best chance to do, especially when you have an animal that for all you know could be, hungry and looking for an easy meal. And last I checked, like a 12-year-old, I would say like 11 to I would have actually just been 12, and that a 12-year-old me would have been a perfect snack for something of that size. Granted, it was a smaller leopard, but I would say it definitely was big enough where I could definitely see it being able to take down a younger me. Anyway, sorry for getting sidetracked, but yeah, the silence that kind of comes around when a predator is about to launch an attack, especially from ambush, kind of gets really, really eerie scary, because everything all of a sudden goes from silent. Like, maybe the only things that you hear left are just like crickets and stuff, or bugs making some sounds, or sometimes it just goes dead silent, and that's the scariest of it all. And it's when your senses are at the peak. But anyways, I do have to say, I'm very glad that Muldoon has a pretty powerful tranquilizer with him. Otherwise, well, Storm might have just gutted him.
Get the big one to Harding.
I'm heading to the Raptor pen now, Muldoon.
Okay, Jerry, the chopper's leaving now. I'll be at the pen in a few minutes.
She had a seizure.
Possibly, I don't know for sure.
Okay, I've got a few vials of midazolam that should work. It's reliable in reptiles and birds, so I don't see why it won't work for velociraptors.
I hope you're right, Jerry.
I'm almost at the pen. I'll talk to you later, Muldoon.
All right, bye. Storm's sister seems she took to the dart. The dose was meant for Rex, but it was all I had, and time was of the essence.
Just looking through. Because I know...
Storm, on the other hand, almost had her way with me.
Don't say it like that.
Tail twitch is always...
Oh, look at this. It's a raptor in the background. Oh no, the raptor then left. That begs the question, is this Storm or is it another raptor? Raptor that came in and replaced Storm and swapped with Storm when she was in the tall grass, which probably led Ray to not notice that there was another raptor that was pretty clearly going to just straight up attack Muldoon if it wasn't for the sudden sound, last minute sound that happens from when you're about to sprint and you kind of place your full weight down in order to go as fast as you can, because that's when Muldoon did his thing. But I have to say it, Muldoon is acting way calmer than I would be in this situation. Granted, he has done some stuff being a game warden in Africa for a long while, so I expect he's kind of used to some of this stuff more so.
I'll double check for adverse effects and then go strangle Ray Arnold.
I mean, that seems pretty fair and valid at this point. We can't really blame Robert because, well, he was almost killed by, a raptor, but yeah, I mean, Ray wasn't exactly keeping an eye on the raptors, wasn't keeping an eye on the Rex, and let's see what else. He wasn't being super helpful with some other stuff.
Robert Muldoon, Game Warden, Isla Nublar, Tyrannosaurus Rex holding paddock inspection for September 29, 91. This here is our elevated viewing deck over the holding paddock, with its only current occupant, the Queen herself. She's asleep in the open again, no attempt at cover, no effort to conceal herself. An animal with nothing here that can challenge her has zero instinct to hide. That's the confidence of an apex predator with absolute dominance over its environment. We separated her from the juvenile for the lysine cycle this time. Couldn't risk administering supplements together. Too much aggression, too much competition over food. At their size, a dispute isn't just simply posturing. It can accumulate in death. The juvenile's reaching that threshold where tolerance disappears. So we stagger feedings, isolate them, make sure each animal takes its tablet without the other interfering. It's a strange thing designing animal husbandry protocols around chemistry instead of ecology.
I mean, I will say, as much as Harding said it, and I believe the last 2 episodes, I forget which episode it was exactly, but yeah, there was a point where he did say that it is more on I would say it's a bit more on a biological standard. The lysine thing is efficient. From an ethical and moral one, that's a whole other issue. So
in the reserve back in Kenya, separation meant injury recovery, breeding management, or relocation. Here it means making sure 2 engineered predators don't kill each other over a medicated ration. Any effective containment strategy begins with a clear understanding of the animal's core biological and behavioral requirements.
I would say that is a bit hard to know for extinct animals per se, because we only know about the fossils and a good chunk about the environments that they would have lived in, but we have nothing specific about behaviors or even what they would decide to do or really like what they would want out of it, because they are, at the end of the day, dinosaurs are animals, and that they are going to be smart about stuff. They're not going to be laying around doing nothing exactly, so, and plus, especially when you have, like, about, I believe Roberta, since that's Rexy in the novels, is Roberta, and for now, I'm just going to call the other Rex in the paddock, that's the juvenile. You know what? I'll just call it little Rex. Yeah, little Rexy. Big Rexy and little Rexy. I'm having a tough day with pronouncing L's, R's, and TH's, but anyways, practically, yeah, usually separation between animals, as Muldoon was stating before, is typically used for breeding control, injury recovery, or, when you're about to, have to separate 2 animals before, they fight, or to help to try to get them to be accustomed to one another. Acclimatized to one another, so, and closure. So that's usually what separation's used for in most breeding areas. Most zoos and breeding programs for animals in the wild.
With the largest land carnivore the Earth has ever seen, space is the first and most integral requirement. Always will be. People think predators don't require it because they sleep so much. They see this, an animal lying still for hours, and assume the enclosure is adequate. What they don't see is the territory that exists in the animal's own mind. In Tanzania, a single lioness would patrol a range that dwarfs almost this entire island. Not because she needs every acre at every moment, but because the option mattered. This pet.
I mean, yeah, I suppose that makes sense in a way where you know you would need to have more territory just in case if something happens, like for example a gang of hyenas arrive and starts driving you out of some of your hunting grounds, that you don't automatically, you know, lose all of your spots and you're able to go to some other parts to hopefully, you know, ride out the storm, or to also help attract mates by showing, hey, look, I have a pretty big area of territory, and that could be patrolled together better with a mate or a pride.
And meets the minimum physical requirements. The Rex can turn, walk, feed, rest, but minimum is not the same as sufficient. Large predators require gradients, open ground, cover, elevation, scent trails, variation in substrate.
Rexy.
Without those, behavior is affected. They become predictable. Predictability in a predator is not calmness, it's agitation.
Yeah. Agitated, predictable carnivores. There's a lot of stories of tiger escapes, and for any of y'all that know what happens the moment that they escape, besides people panicking is, well, it usually doesn't end well for the person that gave that tiger a reason to come on out, because tigers usually don't like trying to escape, and doesn't help that some zoo measurements in like the past hasn't been able to efficiently contain some tigers without increasing protocol and safety measurements for it, just to make sure that the tiger doesn't escape and doesn't harm people. But yeah, predictability is the most dangerous thing when it comes to a predator, because that lures you into a false sense of security. As this kind of also occurs to a lesser extent in the wild, where if a predator for a long while is seen often going after one specific type of animal, some of the animals would kind of associate like not having to nearly fear the predator as much. I mean, granted, the animals will still be on edge when the predator is around, but they're not going to be fully, oh hey, let's get out of here. Gets out of here when it arrives. So yeah, because once it lures you into the false sense of security, although this is more unintentional in the wild, but it's able to get you while you have your guard down, and when it's in captivity and when you get your guard down, that kind of makes it easier for you to ignore some of the signs that are clearly there, where the animal is thinking about a way to, get out and, do some damage. It's not going to be pretty, but,
The answer that all good zoos provide to counter this is enrichment. But enrichment is a poor substitute for territory. We drag scent trails, vary feeding locations, introduce novel objects she can investigate and destroy. She engages, briefly, then she sleeps again. Not from contentment, but because there is literally nothing left to do. It's hard from a zoological standpoint to try and understand the requirements of an animal that lived in a completely different world to us. In here, a cow arrives, is consumed, and the world goes still again for her. The separation from the juvenile has altered her patterns, She paces the fence line more often now, especially at dusk. She can smell the younger animal on the wind currents that move through the service corridors. That scent is both familiar and antagonistic. Kin recognition doesn't override competition in large theropods. If anything, it sharpens it. People assume aggression is a flaw in the animals.
Nope. For the most part, I mean, as much as aggression could be a bad thing, it is not a flaw of animals. In fact, it's kind of the way to ensure survival of the fittest, in a sense. I mean, it's not exactly going to be the most pretty thing, but aggression kind of asserts that, you're not being weakened and not being able to take care of yourself in nature. And prove that you are worthy of producing strong offspring for future generations.
It isn't. It's a requirement. A predator that hesitates doesn't eat.
Agreed.
Predator that tolerates rivals doesn't breed.
Yep.
What we call aggression is simply an evolutionary solution to scarcity. We remove the scarcity, but the aggression remains. I remember relocating a problem leopard near Nakuru. She'd taken goats from 3 villages and had to be moved before the farmers poisoned her. We released her into a protected sector with ample prey. On paper, perfect habitat. For 3 days, she did nothing but circle the perimeter, testing every boundary, scent marking every tree. She wasn't looking for food. She was mapping ownership. That's what this one cannot do. No perimeter she can influence, no rivals she can displace, no territory she can claim.
I will say this. It is most likely that tyrannosaurs, and much less this extends to all dinosaurs, including the avian dinosaurs, which, for those that don't know, the avian dinosaurs are birds, their modern day descendants. Actually, they kind of were descendants, like, during the dinosaurs' peak in the Cretaceous, but, actually, they split off during the late Jurassic into their own clave, but, from there, it also should be stated that they don't exactly do the mammalian thing and have, like, scent glands in the area. Well, we're just going off of birds and other archosaurs, such as crocodilians, that, as far as we are aware of, don't do, like, traditional scent markings like mammals will do. So for them, claiming territory could probably be like something like a lion's or grumble thing, where it's just like mapping out the territory verbally, kind of, and also like maybe like occasionally like something like that would mark territory, like maybe knocking over like a tree or so, or like scratching up against something. I don't know exactly, but just know it's not going to be like anything like mammalian predators, since they're not mammalian.
The glass, the concrete, the electrified barriers, they define her world in ways no wild boundary ever could. A river can be crossed, a mountain can be climbed, but a fence hums and kills. We often talk about containment in terms of barriers and fail-safes, but real containment is meeting an animal's requirements so completely that it has no impetus to challenge those barriers. Space, stimulation, predictable resources, absence of chronic stresses. We meet some of those, others we can only approximate. On the
that I can agree with, because in order to get true containment of an animal, just have the animal feel very content with what it's got, I don't mean like bare minimum stuff. I mean like you give, for example, let's just say you give a good amount of territory for a leopard, and you have it contained inside of like an enclosure, granted like more of like a wildlife preserve enclosure where like the walls aren't exactly like constantly seen or noticeable, but it's just something where it should just be noted that it is kind of one of those things where yeah, where I mean, if you get the animal well enough acquainted, it wouldn't have a reason, like as Muldoon was stating, to try to escape or doing something. Regardless, I mean, containing an animal of that measure isn't exactly an easy thing to do.
Observe, if an enclosure failed, an animal returned to an ecosystem that could absorb it. Here, failure means an apex predator in an artificial landscape with no checks and no learned boundaries. That's why every protocol matters. Separation for feeding, controlled enrichment, monitoring behavioral changes. There's a tendency to anthropomorphize sleep as peace. It isn't peace.
Yeah, I'm sorry to jump in with Robert. To some extent, sleep is indeed peace. It's peace for humans that are a bit too, well, spoiled by, us having shelters and not having to worry as often for predators, or for challenges and rivals that would want physical harm or combat to us, like on a daily basis. So we take it as a luxury and will often view it as peaceful, because to us it's a bit of a low blow to kill someone while they're sleeping or attack someone while they're sleeping. It is a low blow, but it does happen, but and that applies to whenever we see our pets sleeping as well. Granted, sometimes they are just, resting up, storing energy, just recharging themselves, but other times it's partially a bit where it's just a way for an animal to pass time without, wasting or consuming too much energy.
Peace. It's conservation of energy between demands that never come. In the wild, rest is earned between hunts, conflicts, migrations. Here, rest is the default state. Still, she is magnificent, perfectly adapted for a world that no longer exists, confined to one we built for spectacle and control. Our task is to ensure that, within these limits, her needs are met well enough that instinct does not turn into desperation, because desperation is when predators test fences. I almost feel sorry for her.
I feel sorry for all of the genetic monstrosities created by InGen. The reason why I call them genetic monstrosities is that, although yes, they are the base genome of the animal, it's confirmed both in the movies and in the novels that they're not all exactly 100% complete. I mean, they're about as complete as their technology in DNA research was able to allow them to get it complete at the time. So part of it is part T-Rex. The other part is in the novels and in the films, although granted they don't explain this well enough in the films, but in the novels they explain that they also used bird DNA, other archosaur DNA such as crocodiles, and some lizard DNA as well to help out with some balancing, in addition to the amphibian DNA to help out filling gaps in the code. But honestly, I will just say it's just kind of, how do I say it? It's a bit sad in a sense, because we all know we all know, like, at the end of the day, like, they're not truly the animal itself that they were in real life, or even in Jurassic Park's own historical universe, kind of, where it's not necessarily the animal. It's close enough to it, but it's not the animal.
She's just watching me, Jerry. Just sitting there like she's deciding whether I'm worth the effort. But I can bet that if this pen wasn't here, she'd try and show me, that's for sure.
Yeah, I would say so.
Like Storm yesterday, almost snuck up on me.
Yeah, I heard. Ray Arnold and his computers.
Tell me about it.
But she's alert and responsive. This is the first seizure I've documented in any of the park's animals, let alone a raptor.
You're certain it was a seizure and not some toxin or neurological infection?
Positive. Full tonic-clonic presentation. Rigidity, limb extension, mandibular clenching, followed by rhythmic convulsions. I administered intramuscular midazolam. The convulsions subsided within 90 seconds.
And the lysine?
I injected her once she stabilized. At this stage, it's going to be observation. Monitor respiration, coordination, pupil response, and watch for recurrence.
You're telling me this happened because she missed a supplement, Jerry?
That's my working theory. There are modified metabolic
Oh. She's not staring at Muldoon. She's staring at this because... Oh. Don't tell me, since the vibrations aren't going off, that this isn't electrified.
way is dependent on InGen's specific lysine analog. Without it, systemic stress escalates. Neurological symptoms aren't out of the question.
Imagine that. An apex predator humbled because she didn't take her vitamins.
It's
Yeah.
not a vitamin deficiency in the conventional sense, Muldoon. It's enzymatic compatibility. They can process natural lysine, but not efficiently enough to sustain neural stability without...
I hate to break it to Jerry and to Henry Wu, but oh boy, did they prove that wrong in the novel, because Raptor isn't a novel. For those wondering, Aliwata's universe is a mixture between the novels, the films, and kind of his own series that he kind of goes off of, which is kind
our
of fun.
engineer compound.
So what's the long-term solution, Jerry? We dart them all once a week, drop them cold just to get a tablet down their throats?
I don't like it either. Sedation carries risk. Respiratory depression, dosing errors, stress myopathy, but with an animal that refuses oral intake, parenteral administration may be the only reliable route.
She's staring holes through me, Jerry. No fear, no confusion.
Well, in this instance, I would say she's both eyeing Muldoon and also the gate.
If anything, she looks irritated that we interfered.
That's consistent with rapid benzodiazepine clearance in theropods. Sedation fades, cognition returns, and they start
Now she's
remembering.
staring at you.
Brilliant. So next time we come at her with a dart, she'll be ready.
If this seizure was lysine related, which I'm completely positive that it was, maintaining her schedule should prevent recurrence.
She hasn't moved from that spot, just breathing slow. Like she's filing this away for future reference.
With her, I would assume she is. Keep visual contact, note any tremors or ataxia, and call me immediately if anything changes, Muldoon.
Understood.
Alright. Wait. What was that?
Good.
Wait. Is it cow hook? Oh. That's no good. The cow hook is there with cow, but the gates are open. That's no good at all.
I'm currently in the service corridor between the Rex holding pen and the paddock proper. The adult was returned to the paddock, so both Rexes are back in here now. Tomorrow we should administer the lysine to the adult Rex. We can do that by simply leaving the tablet in the enclosure rather than separating, as the juvenile doesn't yet dare to approach the adult while she's feeding. Here's our juvenile, eyes glowing. Predator's eyes often appear to glow in the dark because of a reflective layer behind the retina called the tapetum lucidum. It acts like a mirror, bouncing incoming light back through the photoreceptors to
Muldoon, I would suggest paying attention to what she's paying attention to, because it's
improve
not
vision
you.
in low light conditions.
Well, now it's
You tend to see this in nocturnal hunters like lions or hyenas. She's waiting here, expecting a cow or a goat, since she hasn't eaten in over a week in accordance with the lysine protocol. She definitely looks menacing crouched like that, assessing the gate. She's realized that food isn't coming, so she's off. I must admit, it is good to see her approaching the gate, holding her own. As she grows, she's going to start taking up space, both physically and with regards to marking out her territory. We don't know enough of Rex territorial range, but I think it's safe to say that they...
Oh my goodness. I knew that was coming, but that caught me off guard.
This one has a knack for sneaking. I guess this is a perfect example of misconceptions people have regarding animals in captivity. Earlier today in the holding pen, we saw her behave quite docile and calm. People always complain about visiting zoos and finding the lions always sleeping. Let me tell you, when the sun goes down, they are completely different animals, as are all nocturnal carnivores, and the Rexes are no exception. Jerry, I thought you said they fed the big one this
That's
afternoon.
weird.
That's correct, Muldoon. 4 p.m.
The crane's still here.
Oh, I thought they'd have finished up by now.
Me too. I'll call you back, Jerry.
Okay.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Why is the feeding gate still open?
Oh no.
Christ! Andre! Andre!
Andre
Close
up
the
there?
damn feeder! No, no, no.
Wait, since 4 p.m.? Oh. Wait. No, no. Don't tell me. Did she kill Andre? No. No.
Good God.
No. This is the end of volume 1. Beautifully done. Done by Aliwata. Gotta give props to him. And holy. That is a lot to take in. Raptor, the big ones escaped, possibly killed a person, and not to mention, the danger level for Muldoon has increased because not only are the wild raptors out and about, but now the big ones joined up with them, or I'm assuming has, and they're possibly not that far away from Muldoon, judging by the calls, and I'm not sure if Muldoon still has his shotgun with him or not. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, that was the Muldoon Logs, episode 10, Raptor Attack. Anyways, once again, I heavily would recommend and strongly urge y'all to go check out the original video, watch it in full, give it a like, comment down below, and also give Aliwata some support if you're able to. It's only if you're able to, as I'm not going to force you guys to, go straight for, paying for it. But, I'm just saying, just go, leave a like, comment on the video, and watch it all the way through on his channel. So that way, gets better engagement with the algorithm. And yeah, links to Aliwata's video will be in the description down below, along with a link to his channel. And all of the copyright, once again, belongs to Aliwata. All of Jurassic Park's copyright belongs to Universal City Studios, LLC, and to Emblem Entertainment, Inc. Anyways, I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.